What happens at the moment for solar panels when they reach the end of their life? Where do they go? What can you do with them?
Yeah, look, unfortunately at the moment, although your residents are right up there with electrification and they understand that gas is a gamble for their electricity bills, at the moment what's happening is Australians love their solar and about 3.5 to 4.5 million panels are coming off every year. And unfortunately, because nobody will pay to get them to the recyclers, these panels are being stockpiled, they're being put in landfill, and they're being left with residents.
What could be done with them if you could recycle them, or it sounds like you can recycle them, and they're just not getting to the recyclers? What
Yeah,
could you use them for?
you absolutely can. We're working with the recycling industry and we have recyclers in Australia that are using cutting edge technologies and able to recycle 95% or more of the materials in there. So we're talking about important materials like copper and silver. These are critical minerals that we're running out of in the world, and it's really, really important that we recover them. But also things like glass that can be used in ceramic benchtop tiles and in other important products. And all of these are going to waste at the moment.
How long do they tend to last? How long can a solar panel stay up on your roof and keep working?
Yeah, well, the good news is that solar panels can actually last for around 20 to 25 years. But unfortunately, the average age of the solar panels when they're being decommissioned at the moment is only about 8 years.
So,
And that happens, yeah, that happens because people, as you say, your residents have had a big take up of these solar batteries. So what happens is when they get a battery in their home, what they want is enough power coming off their solar panels. So they take off their old solar panels that don't have the same output and they replace the solar panels with ones that do. So unfortunately, they're coming off really early.
yeah, right. So it's not always end of life, but it's upgrading to the newer model that might be able to generate more power. So what are you proposing? What would you like to see happen when someone does take that panel off the roof for whatever reason? What do you hope can happen?
Yeah, well, what we're doing at the moment, we're in Canberra today actually with a delegation of our recyclers to talk to the federal government to call for a nationally mandated stewardship scheme. And what that would mean is just a bit like the container deposit scheme you mentioned, you know, a few cents extra you pay on the can of Coke that you buy. And that means that when you're finished with it, it can be recycled. So what it would mean is people would pay for their panels now and be a little bit extra cost. And at the end of the life, there'd be a system where your solar installers could take it away and the payment to get it to the recyclers would be taken care of.
Do you have a sense of what that extra cost might be?
Well, what we do know is that extra cost is going to be less than half the amount that it's costing residents now. So at the moment, residents are being left with panels, and at times it can cost up to $50 per panel to get those recycled or put in landfill. So we know it's going to be significantly less than that.
Okay, so for something like $25 per panel, out of the cost of a solar panel, there's not a huge addition, is it?
Not a huge addition. You know, when we look at how much the cost of solar panels is coming down, it's a barely noticeable cost to have, to know that not only are we keeping these panels away from waste, but these critical minerals like copper and silver. I mean, I'm not sure if you're aware, Eddie, but the silver in solar panels, the 143 million solar panels that are going to come off in the next 20 years, that actually is Australia's biggest silver mine. And at the moment, that's going to waste.
In Canberra at the moment, what sort of feedback are you getting from the nation's leaders?
Well, look, it's really pleasing that we're having high-level engagement with ministers in federal government. And we've been talking about this for a long time, and talk hasn't stopped millions of panels from being decommissioned and being wasted in landfills. Look, this morning we're meeting actually with your local federal minister, Kristy McBain. And as Minister for Local Government, we want to make her aware that local governments from Tasmania to the top end have been contacting us about the escalating solar panel problem that's clogging up their landfills. So we're hoping Kristy gets on board.
What about the industry, the manufacturers of the solar panels? Are they on board? What role can they play here?
Yeah, well, ultimately, they too, it's an important issue for them because at the moment, about 10% of the world's silver is being used in making solar panels. But in another 20 years, the way that we're going, it's going to take 90% of all the silver that we have left in the world for solar panels to be made, for them to actually make sure that they take control of their supply chains. This issue is as important to them as it is for the rest of us.
Robyn, good to speak with you this morning. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much for your time.
Robyn Cowie, the Product Stewardship Manager at the Smart Energy Council. Something like 143 million solar panels will be coming off Australian roofs in the next few years, either because they reach the end of their life or because homeowners are upgrading to better models. And therefore, they are proposing a nationally mandated stewardship scheme, a little bit like the container deposit scheme. It'd add a little bit to the cost of the solar panel up front, but then that would go towards the cost of getting it to the recyclers.